Art began as an escape for me. It's been both my history and my therapy. I think it reflected my life, and it was also a way for me to leave that world behind. I could express my emotions and my opinions without any consequences or confrontation. Eventually, it evolved into more. My childhood was really chaotic. I was born in Texas and have two younger brothers. I'm the oldest. My dad was a football coach and my mom just stayed home. And because of my dad's job, we were constantly moving. If he had a great season, then a better school would hire him away. And if it was a bad season, then he was usually fired. And it was completely unpredictable. I was never told what was happening, when we were going, or where we were going. I was always the new student, and I hated it. I'm shy, and it was hard to make new friends. At home, during football season, my dad was really never around. And if he was losing, he was angry and belligerent when he was. And we lived in so many places. My mom would never make any place feel like home. There'd be unpacked boxes. No one ever painted. We never bought new furniture. I know part of it was because finances were tight. One day in the grocery store, she whispered to me, "I hope the check doesn't bounce." So, that kind of added this pressure on me of financial stress. But I also think she'd given up on her marriage. I don't know, maybe her dreams or just what she envisioned her life to be. Our house was always filled with tension, and life just felt unstable and out of control. I sort of retreated into my room and into a depression, but it also helped me create an interior world that fueled my imagination and probably was the beginning of my creative life. My one respite was my grandmother, Willie Culpepper. I was her only granddaughter, so I spent a lot of time with her in the summers. I would sit on her floor and draw or cross-stitch or do some needlepoint. She had all of these quilts, and I would help patch them. My grandmother had about 100 of these quilts, all handmade by women in Texas. Each one was so different, and I was just intrigued by all the patterns and texture and shape of them. There was such a variety of color. I think what I liked best was that Willie Dell's house really felt like a home. It was the epitome of stable. She had lived in that same house since 1910. She was a strong woman. She drove a car at 13. She went to college in the 1930s. And she worked in a bomb-making factory in World War II and just left my infant father with her parents. And she was really the first person who exposed me to art. Besides all the paintings on her wall, we'd go up to the Kimball Art Museum in Fort Worth and spend afternoons there looking at the artwork and having lunch. I most remember the airy spaces and the vaulted ceilings of that museum. I went to college thinking that I would study medicine or science, but my freshman year I took a drawing class and it just hooked me. With every semester I just kept taking more and more studio classes, and then I spent my junior year in Paris. Museums were my classroom. The Musée d'Orsay, the Louvre, the Pompidou. I was there every week, either looking at the art or sitting on the floor with my class sketching pictures. But I couldn't really envision how art could be a career, so I ended up majoring in psychology and then I went to graduate school. During that time I got married and I had 3 children, and only when they began school did I really go back to art full time. I was painting interior spaces, and I started expanding my compositions based on this store of images I had, all these photographs saved and things I'd ripped out of magazines, and I started building the scenes, kind of manipulating perspective and size and deconstructing the objects. During this time, I was still struggling to understand my parents and my childhood, fighting feelings of sadness and anger and depression. But I kept those emotions hidden. I think all those moves and all the instability, it had kind of resulted in my constant need to make every new space I was in feel like home, and I found all of this stuff showing up in my work. The commonplace furnishings and all the utilitarian objects, they evolved into symbols. Each of us personalized this space around us, intentionally or not, but maybe instead of reflecting your feelings, I thought about what if it's concealing the circumstances or what's really going on. We all understand the concept of home, no matter what our race or religion or our social status, and because of that, we have a unique frame. So I really began to take the idea of home and all the objects that fill those spaces and twist them to create conversations about stability, comfort, tranquility, love, or really the gross lack of those things. People often describe my work as happy or playful and lyrical, but it's fueled by emotional turmoil and personal drama. I'm using the lack of an established figure to imply emptiness and isolation. The interiors I've created are rooms without occupants. They're tables set for a party, rooms ready for a guest, but no one's showing up. I always wanted to tell a story with my work about domestic life and its inhabitants and the role of women in this domain. In the beginning, I only did that with color and pattern, but in the last couple of years, I started incorporating the figure to do that. I started using the female to inform these interior scenes. While I raised 3 children, I've been in over 130 exhibitions, and 27 of those things have been solo projects. I've tried to set a good example for my children of hard work and perseverance, and really to never let your passions die. And I think what it comes down to is, for me, artists are storytellers, and my art tells the story of me.